Welcome to the Weekly Ramble, episode 1. Officially, we did a few trial shorts and stuff, but this will go out on Spotify, on the YouTube, full long form with Thogden. How are we doing?
I love the name Weekly Ramble. It's great, that.
It's not just football, it's life, it's father and son having banter. And yeah, we're just gonna have a chat like we always do.
That sounds a little bit dangerous.
It's a bit more fun having a chat because I've moved out now. So I'm not home all the time and I get that opportunity to speak to you, catch up with you guys.
Are you enjoying that? Are you enjoying living by yourself?
Yeah, I love it. I do. But I do miss the conversations we have like over dinner, talk about football.
Yeah.
One of them would be like Trent going to Real Madrid. You know, I couldn't believe it. When that news came out, it just shocked me. You know, is he really good? He's the lad from Liverpool. He's the scouser in their team. They sing about it.
Yeah.
And do you get it? Do you understand? Is it fair?
First of all, I think he's a wonderful football player and I think he's a hero in Liverpool. But there are England fans, there are some within the game who actually underestimate him. And I think that's because the position he plays, right wing back. Some people look at him and say, well, he's not a very good defender, which I think is harsh. There's maybe something to it, but I think he's a wonderful player. And if he goes to Real Madrid, absolutely good luck to the lad. He will smash it.
Liverpool fans have been protecting him for years. A lot of them saying that he won't be that good at Real Madrid. He's not cut for the level. I disagree with that. I think he's one of the, if not the best right back in the world. And they're going for him and they're paying him good money for a reason.
I think he'll be absolutely wonderful. I think he'll smash it all day long at Real Madrid, Theo. He's going to get a load of assists. He's going to be a hero down there. And it's going to be good for him as a footballer and as a person.
Let me ask you a question then, Dad. Do you call, once they sign Trent, is the Real Madrid team a Galacticos level squad? Because you were there for their last era of that word.
Yes.
You can talk, I can't.
Do you know what? I think you've got to the position, even this season, where you've got probably 7 players who are worth 100 million plus. I think we're very nearly at that level. Now, it didn't gel at first, did it?
No.
Real Madrid, early in the season, it was almost like there were too many big-name players.
The problem is, when you have that many players of a standard, can they play together? Didn't work at PSG. They're doing better now when they've got more Parisian French players.
Well, will Real Madrid win the league in Spain and will they win the Champions League? If they do a double, even after a poor start to the season, everyone will be hailing that team. I think it's a wonderful team and it's going to take some real effort from somebody to stop them winning the Champions League.
That's very interesting. Well, talking about Champions League, during international break, there's obviously been none.
Yes.
But there's been Women's Champions League.
Yes.
I'll be real with you guys. For the first time on TV, I watched 90 minutes of women's football.
Yes.
And I actually thought it was all right. It was pretty good. So Real Madrid won the first leg 2-0.
Yes.
Emirates, lower tier, pretty much full. I'll be real. And middle tier, pretty much full. Arsenal do well. I think they sell tickets for 20 quid. Still, that's not the cheapest in the world. They've done pretty well with attendance. They got behind the squad. They've got a 2-0 chase. Second leg, 90 minutes to save their season of the Champions League to come back. And this is against one of the best women's teams. They scored about 4 goals. 2 of them got disallowed. Then they scored the winner. Alessia Russo, I think her name is. Unbelievable player. Unbelievable. You know, she is better than in the Arsenal forwards right now. Yeah. She's better than Moreno. She's better than Havertz.
Yeah.
Absolute finisher. When the ball was in the box, she'd get on the end of things. Crosses, get on the end of things. She's unreal. Arsenal did amazing. And their fans were celebrating. It was proper limbs. And maybe, I know it sounds crazy, but that will put the right mindset for the men's team, knowing that they're playing the same fixture next week.
I think that's absolutely brilliant, Theo. I mean, they were 2-0 down, weren't they? And they came back to win 3-2 on aggregate.
Yeah.
Well done, Arsenal women.
Rosso for Ballon d'Or.
Why not, Theo, one day? But you once went to a game, I think. Was it at Barcelona, where there was a sellout for a women's game?
It was, yeah, 92,000 fans.
92,000. I mean, that is incredible.
Barcelona against Wolfsburg. It was a proper attendance. And, you know, it's a completely different audience. It's 80% women in the crowd. You'd think it's similar. It's actually not. So it makes you wonder how big football clubs really are when you combine all the different ages, audiences, you know, from all around the world.
Yeah.
So it's a growing sport, and I've watched women's football a lot and thought, oh, I just can't get my mind. I was watching that, really supporting Arsenal as the English club in the Champions League, wanting them to make the comeback, wanting them to score. When they did, I felt that buzz like I do from a men's game. The gap is getting closer.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as people make out.
Do you know what, Theo?
I'll be real.
There is a lot of nonsense talked about women's football, women commentators, women pundits, most of it by Joey Barton. How did that end up for him?
Yeah,
a lot of nonsense talked, and maybe some people of my generation sort sort of sniff at the women's game a bit. But in reality, and I say this, do you know why I say this? I say this because I'm the father of a daughter, and my daughter likes playing football. She likes watching football. She supports Bolton and Arsenal these days. So you know what? How can, as a feminist, I've always considered myself a feminist, how can I be critical of the women's game? I think it's brilliant.
I had it on TV. I enjoyed it for the first time on TV. And I think they are improving that sport. Sky get behind it. They show the games. I watched on beIN Sport, but still, it was brilliant. And I think there's massive improvements in the women's game. The investment will show results. The facilities, playing on the Emirates turf, that incredible pitch, it was still really enjoyable from a fan perspective.
Absolutely. And certainly the pay for women athletes and for women footballers should be determined by the market.
Absolutely.
So if you get 90,000 people at the Nou Camp, if you get 20, 30, 40,000 people at a Premier League stadium to watch the game, that and how much sponsorship money comes in should determine how much women athletes make.
And that is why there should never be, it's not even an argument why men and women earn different amounts.
Oh no,
it's because of what they generate. The numbers,
correct.
It speaks for themselves. If a business does well, you make more money. If a business fails, you make less money. That's just how life is. It's the same in football, it's the same in business. So
but when it comes, and let's extend this discussion a little bit. Women commentators, women pundits. If they're good enough, give them a job. I mean, there are some very good women pundits and women commentators out there.
Stumpeg's killing it right now.
Stumpeg is brilliant. She's got great knowledge of the game, and good luck to her.
I enjoy the overlap for her. I don't even enjoy having Neville and Carragher as much. I listen to her opinions more, and it's great that she puts Bolton on the map. So keep smashing it. Big shout out to them, and it's amazing. Talking about taking over the game.
Yes.
How about a new era of football? You know, football isn't just 11 aside anymore.
Yeah.
There's been a new introduction to a quicker game with less players in a smaller pitch, artificial turf, with fans, lots of lighting on show, lots of craziness, and Sky Sports are sponsoring it. It's called Baller League.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Off the back of Kings League World Cup and things like that happens abroad that were created by PK. Baller League has come in now to the UK, the first one inside our country that is taking over every Monday, 12 weeks running. In the evening. Are you excited by it, or do you think it's ruining football?
I think it's absolutely brilliant, Theo. The way things have changed, and I'm going to extend this. For example, the other day you played in a charity match down in Qatar, watched by 40,000 people.
But that was 11 aside. That was based off a football match.
But it's the same principle. It was a bunch of influencers and ex-pros playing. The key here was, do people want to watch that? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So people want to watch that. They want to watch you playing football. They want to watch you being a goalkeeper. They also want to watch Angry Ginger's 6-a-side team.
I was worried at first because it's only managers that as the creators, and the players on the pitch are kind of these like semi-pro guys. People don't really know the players.
Yeah.
They'll get to know them over time, but you come for the creators, but they're on the bench managing the team. But over time, I believe in the idea. I do believe in the idea.
And I think it's a wonderful idea, Theo.
Yeah.
And I've actually been approached that something like this might be happening in the Middle East, and they're already talking to us about that.
Thogden as the gaffer in the Middle East.
How about that? How about if Qatar or Saudi Arabia did a Ballers League and we bought a team? I think that would be
happily take
fantastic. But you see, for me, it's all
I'm not sure we'd be able to compete against the Saudi princes in terms of budget, but if they want to come play for passion, shout out to all the ballers in Saudi, Dubai, Qatar. We'll sign you up. Thogden, I'll be assistant.
Do you know what it's all about?
Bring on Baller League Middle East.
It's all about the market. It's all about eyeballs. If people watch this 5-a-side game or this YouTuber game, then it will happen.
Yeah.
Because the sponsors are there.
Yeah.
The kids are there in the crowd. That's what it's all
about.
about.
The guy behind it is Jens Lehmann's son as well, which is a really cool story.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they've smashed it, and it wasn't full game week 1, but I think they will start to generate more fans at the Copper Box Arena every Monday. If you're in London, go down.
Let's go along.
Watch it.
Let's go along on Monday.
So do you think it's changing the way people want to, as TikTok took over the social media game, people's attention span is shorter? Is that the same in football? People don't want to sit around for 90 minutes. To be honest, in the last week, I've seen a lot more highlights on my timeline from Baller League than the Premier League.
Do you know what,
and
Theo?
There's a lot more budget in the Premier League.
You know how much I love football, and I'm someone who would go along to Hackney Marshes and watch 2 random men's team play on a Sunday. I would just watch it and be interested in it because I just love football. So in the past, there's maybe been too much focus on the professional game. It's all about, the Beckhams and the Rooneys and what have you. Whereas really, football should be more democratic. It's all about getting boys, girls, men, women out there playing football, whether it's 5-a-side, 6-a-side, disabled football, for example, all of these things we should put more attention to it,
agree.
especially given the
Grassroots.
sort of the obesity epidemic that we have in this country. People should be out there playing sport, playing football, enjoying it. Last night we played I'm 57 years old. Last night the two of us went onto a pitch in Highgate and, like we do every Thursday, and played 6-a-side football.
It was a lot of fun.
And that's what it's all about. Participation.
Yeah.
And if people want to watch that, great.
What do you think about the Premier League? It's getting boring. It's getting tiresome. I'm worried about what the greatest league in the world, the one that catches all the eyes. I'm not sure it's going to maintain it for much longer.
I disagree. The Premier League is the best domestic league in the world,
But-
full stop. Okay, this season, the relegation scrap has finished. We know who's going down. But what we don't know...
But doesn't that happen every year?
No, it doesn't.
The three promoted teams are consistently going down year after year. And this time, there's such a difference in points by this point in the season that it's actually very... It's not
I
interesting.
can remember when Nottingham Forest went up. It wasn't long ago, and now they're pushing for second place in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it doesn't always happen. And I take your point. Recently, 3 coming up, you bet on them to go down, but not always. But what is fascinating this season is the battle for Europe. Liverpool have won the league. We know who's going down, but Crystal Palace are having a late push. Brighton are having a late push for the Champions League. We don't know who's going to take those European places. We don't know how many European places we're going to get. But I think the Premier League, in terms of standard and excitement, remains brilliant.
I disagree. I find Barcelona-Real Madrid games a lot more interesting. I turned on Atletico Barcelona the other day. It was unbelievable. 4-4 draw first leg. Second leg the other day. Every match, attacking football, exciting, end-to-end, lots more scraps, lots more problems with VAR and fans just kicking off and everything.
Yeah.
If I go to your average Spanish game, La Liga game, it's way better right now than your average Premier League game.
But the problem there is, you've named it yourself. You've mentioned 3 teams: Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid. You mentioned 3 Spanish teams. Whereas this season, I'm talking about Nottingham Forest, I'm talking about Brighton, I'm talking about Villa. The thing about the Premier League is surprises can happen. Leicester, 10 years ago, won the Premier League. So I think the depth of quality in the Premier League goes much deeper than it does in the Spanish League. Although, of course, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico, wonderful teams, great to watch. Two amazing cities.
I'm more interested in the Seville derby, Betis against Sevilla, and even the Bucharest derby happening this weekend than I am about Tuesday night Premier League games. And that's just how I am. I don't know if people agree with me. I'm just saying that because that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I think the game's changing. I think we need a new Premier League start. And I'm worried about next year because Liverpool are falling off their high horse. I mean, they're losing a lot of big names.
Look, Theo, the thing about, let's say, the Romanian league, I find that fascinating. We went out there, didn't we? And we watched a game and just had so much fun.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Premier League players in Romania are sort of ex-Bolton players. So you've got Denis Politic, for example. Someone who was like 3rd tier in England is top tier in Romania.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
by the way, that's no disrespect.
I'm not talking about the football. I'm talking about the atmosphere and turning up to a game and actually having an experience that's worth the money that you pay for a ticket.
That is a very good point. Now, in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of sort of the ultra culture, it is certainly not in the Premier League.
No, it's true.
The Premier League is a very different product. It is a bit of a polished product, isn't it, Theo?
Yeah.
If you want the flares, the pyro, the scrapping. Well, we don't condone it, but if you want that ultra subculture, you don't go to the Premier League. That is pretty much gone.
Talk about the Premier League. For the first time ever, there's going to be 2 transfer windows this summer.
It's a weird one, that, isn't it? Because it opens for a couple of weeks, then closes and opens again.
Yeah, there's a break because of the Club World Cup happening this summer for the first time. Major teams like Chelsea and Man City, but also across the world, are all playing in it. It's going to be in the US, the same stadiums that host the World Cup the year after.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Club World Cup?
Do you know what? Let me talk about the transfer window for a minute. And I'm thinking out loud here. Now, in most jobs, Now, imagine, you want to hire an editor, cameraman, with, let's say, Cass. There isn't just a 2-week transfer window when you could hire Cass. Or if you're a banker, you could leave your job at any point. Or if you're an accountant or a builder. And yet in football, there is certain periods when you can take a job. I've always found that a bit weird, a bit artificial.
What, you think there should be a 24/7 transfer window?
There is an argument in terms
There'll
of...
be no loyalty left in the game.
Well, it's up to the club. No, but there will be, because you've signed maybe 5-year, 3-year contracts.
Yeah, but then people just come to mutual agreements and they have one argument, they upset. There's rules that the Premier League have stuck to. You're older than me, you should be backing this. There's years of decisions that have been made to create what football is today. And part of it is a very interesting transfer window moment where it comes round and everybody's thinking about what you can get done. But once that's over, you stick with the boys you have and you focus.
It is exciting. You put on the Sky TV and there's a rolling last-minute transfers. Yeah. But some of the stories are ridiculous. Some of the mistakes that, signing Andy Carroll for too much on, with minutes to go before the transfer window ends. It creates this sort of false environment where people are overpaying for the wrong players because they've got to do it in the next 10 minutes. And in the olden days, it used to be a fax would come through at a certain time. I find it all a bit ridiculous.
So there's going to be a transfer window from June the 1st to the 10th with a 5-day break before reopening from June 16th to September the 1st. Yeah. So there's going to be a short one before and then the Club World Cup in the rest of June. And then it will be open as usual until September. So there's a massive, it's like they're just pushing it forward for a couple clubs to make it the Premier League fair. Just really interesting. Yeah. How do you think the Club World Cup will be? Do you think this will change football? A new tournament like that, loads of clubs. We're going to see Boca Juniors play potentially against English clubs. I've never seen it before. I'm quite interested.
I think it's fantastic. I think that the world is becoming more international. Back in my day, I probably didn't know the name Boca Juniors. I wouldn't know who the Argentinian and the Mexican and the Brazilian clubs were. But now that we've been to those countries, seen those games, it's a really exciting world of football out there. Obviously, you've got to question, when do the players take a break? Because the pressure on the players... But now, if you're a player who plays for Liverpool and plays for England, and you're playing in internationals and domestic, you've got 3 or 4 different cup tournaments, you've got leagues, you've got internationals, you've got friendlies. When does your body rest?
There's two sides to it, because from a fan perspective, I'm a lot more excited. I'll just say it. Yeah. The Club World Cup, for me, right now, I'm more excited than the Premier League.
Right.
I'm bored of the Premier League. I think it's kind of done. But that summer tournament where all the games happen, we really find out for once and for all how every different part of the world's best can face off against each other in conditions in America, massive stadiums, loads of different fan bases. It's like a fan base war and also a football kind of war. And then if you win it, you can call yourself for the first time the best club in the world.
Yes.
It's like the World Cup. I mean, if they can create a hype like the World Cup, but for clubs, it's in the name, we might be onto something. I would definitely want to be out there. I think FIFA have done well to create the idea, but yes, from a player perspective, they're never going to get a break. I mean, even with the transfer window opening up earlier for a couple clubs, it just shows you that there's actually narrowing down the time for players to have off. There's going to be no spare time for these players. They're going to be working so much. It's actually unfair. You think when you get to the top and you become a footballer, you live the dream life. But there's no dreaming. You're constantly going to different locations, playing football. You can't enjoy your life till after your career.
Yes.
And this summer, it's going to be the same for them.
And there's a few other question marks. For example, who's going to take part in future tournaments? So, for example, if Nottingham Forest are runners-up in the Premier League, do they get invited? Or do the organisers say, no, we must have Man United, we must have Tottenham Hotspur? The other worry is, which players will teams play?
Yeah.
Will they field a second team? Liverpool, would they field Trent or would they field Conor Bradley to give them a rest? So there are question marks, but the thought of going out to the United States to watch the Club World Cup, brilliant. Can't wait.
So international break is now over, but during it, a very interesting situation, a very sad situation has happened. Off the back of it, Bayern Munich are very angry. They've got Alphonso Davies back on a flight and he's torn his ACL. Yeah. He's out for the rest of the season and maybe even longer. Imagine you come back to training, you see the state of him, playing on terrible artificial pitches and training grounds over in Canada. The MetLife Stadium constantly injures players, and we're talking about the Club World Cup. They're going to have matches there and at the World Cup. So players playing on artificial turfs because that's what they use for NFL and different sports. Alphonso Davies has returned with a torn ACL, and Bayern are actually going to take Canada to court for it. Yes. They're fuming. What do you think about that?
It's happened before, Theo, and there are certain managers back in the day, Sir Alex Ferguson, hated the whole international thing. There are certain managers who allegedly say, my player is injured, he can't go in international duty.
It's Nations League.
And I understand that because these clubs pay hundreds of thousands a week to get the contracts of these individuals. And then suddenly they go off to somewhere in Asia, Africa, United States, and the player gets injured. This valuable asset gets injured. So I understand how Bayern must feel in that.
So Bayern's sporting director, Christoph Freund, criticised Canada for sending him on a 12-hour flight without a thorough medical check.
Some of these players, I know that they earn a lot of money if they make it to the top, but they are treated like racehorses. They
terrible.
Are treated like thoroughbreds. And honestly, the money men just push them out again and again. Play in this cup tournament, play in this league, go off and play for your country. it can really destroy the body of a professional athlete.
Absolutely, yeah.
Some of the footballers that I knew back in the day are now in their 50s and they're walking on canes. Their bodies are destroyed through overplaying. And they didn't earn much money back in that day. I think the average lifespan, football lifespan of a Premier League player is about 10 years. So you've got 10 years that your body can cope on average with this brutal game of football. And we need to take into account the welfare of the players.
Talking about the best of the best, there's a bit of a situation going on with Carlo Ancelotti.
Yes.
We all know him as probably the best manager in the world right now.
Yes.
But off the pitch, he's got in some problems. He's getting done for tax fraud. That goes back to 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
The Spanish taxmen are after him over an image rights situation that he didn't pay tax on. And he's going to be going in on trial, which is very weird right now. Real Madrid in the Champions League. La Liga, Barcelona is slightly ahead. Do you think that's going to affect them on the pitch? And what do you think? Is it difficult when you're someone like Ancelotti to follow all the wealth that you're gaining when you're trying to focus on the football?
You need, if you're earning that sort of money as a manager or as a player, you need very good advisors, financial advisors, tax advisors in particular, because you're moving all over Europe and there are different tax laws in all of those jurisdictions.
So he was, in that time, it's unbelievable, he was declaring his wealth from Real Madrid, the wages, because they're public. You can find that out online. It's on Football Manager. But he didn't declare his wealth from his real estate and his image rights.
Right.
Which is a bit of a shocker, really. I mean, I don't know how he thought he'd get away with that.
Like I say, we shouldn't comment on this particular case. Have good advisors behind you. Have very good advisors. And the trouble is, though, there are so-called tax schemes out there. So sometimes these advisors will go to the individual and say, well, if you do this, invest in this film, for example, you'll avoid tax. So my advice would be take good advice and don't do those schemes.
He's got a 2-day court case coming up.
Yes.
And the worst of it could end up with him being in jail for up to 5 years, which I'm sure with the lawyers that he brings, he won't be.
Hopefully.
Publicly, he's dismissed it as an old issue, which won't make the taxman go away, sadly.
Hopefully he lawyers up, he gets good tax and legal advice, and he sorts it out. For his sake,
he's got the Real Madrid lawyers. He's got the Real Madrid lawyers, and they can afford to pay Trent a lot of money, so I'm sure they'll be okay. So good luck to Ancelotti, but also, I mean, if he loses, he stepped out of line, then it's his own fault for not declaring his money.
Yeah.
But very difficult situation for someone at the top of the game. A lot going on in his life with the Champions League coming up. Maybe this will favour Arsenal in their upcoming match. They've got to do what the women's game can do. Can Arsenal beat Real Madrid in the Champions League, Dad?
They can, yes. They can on their day.
Yeah.
But I don't think they will. I think over 3 hours of football, you've got to favour Real Madrid, maybe by the single goal.
Second leg at the Bernabeu as well is like
I know.
times.
So if Arsenal can maybe get a 1-0 win, but just Real Madrid are something else this season, I think somebody might stop them in the Champions League. I don't think it'll be Arsenal.
Osimhen has been doing well for Galatasaray, and he's brought out his $1 million chain. What do you think of it? Let me just show it to you. Do you think that's style? Is that drip?
Do you think I could rock that?
What do you think, guys? Is that drip?
I think, it would go with this.
Some people are saying it's too far.
Company.
He wears a mask during his games, and he's got an iced out chain with his mask.
Oh, come on, it's up to him, isn't it?
Some people are saying it's the coolest fit. The Super Eagles running the show.
I think different people. I don't think I could rock it. For me, it's maybe just a gold chain with a cross on it. But good luck to him.
Listen,
why are we talking about what a footballer wears as jewellery?
That's cool. It's drip in the game, Dad.
I know. It's
pulls it
interesting. Back in the day, I think Beckham wore a sarong. He wore like a skirt to an event. Yeah, he did. And Sir Alex Ferguson put it on the screen. It was a sarong, so it looks like a skirt. Sir Alex Ferguson was fuming. He was fuming by the fact that Beckham was turning up to these events with all the latest fashion on, and that his posh spice was dressing up. So what?
It looks like Galatasaray are going to win the Turkish league, so I think he can do what he likes.
He can do what he likes.
Whip out the chains. Jose Mourinho will be the only one fuming, and that's his competition manager. So respect Osimhen. So are we going drip or no drip?
Drip.
Drip. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about tariffs.
Yeah.
What's going on in the world, Dad? What are these tariffs? Explain to me what tariffs are.
Tariffs are a mistake, Thea.
Why?
Tariffs are a mistake because they are... I can't believe we're talking about tariffs in a podcast, but it's great.
This is the weekly ramble. It's not just football.
Because it's something that restricts free trade. I'm all about free trade.
Yeah.
I should be able to sell something to the States or to Japan and buy something when I want. You bring in tariffs and global trade falls. And if economic activity falls, it's bad for the whole world. Tariffs are a bad idea. Trump's doing he's trying to do a lot of things that are right. He's trying to bring peace to the Middle East. He's trying to bring peace to Russia, Ukraine. Tariffs are a mistake.
Why is Trump bringing it in then? That's the question on everybody's lips.
Because he feels it's the right thing for America. He's got this idea of America first, so that American companies will start building the cars and the steelworks will be great again. You know, America will produce something and the rest of the world will consume it. It doesn't work like that. These days, you know, everything we're wearing is probably made in Vietnam or China or something.
Yep.
You look around your room, look at your cars, it probably isn't made in the UK, but that's fine. That's fine.
Is he taking a similar approach to China? Because China seem to do all their own cars, all their own software. They can build buildings with their own people.
That is the argument. So Japan, after the World War, they had a lot of tariffs and it actually helped them grow from very poor to very rich. So it can work.
The people of the US, are they going to work like the Chinese?
Yeah, once the US bring in tariffs, every country that's affected, Canada, Mexico, European Union, China, also bring tariffs and world trade decreases. You know, Africa, the continent, what they need more than anything is free trade between African countries. There is a lot of protectionism and a lot of tariffs within that continent. If you just did away with them, that continent would be a lot richer.
Yeah.
I'm a zero tariffs guy.
What's funny is Iran have just qualified for the World Cup, but their fans can't even go because they're on a 41 list of countries where they can't enter the US. So right now the players actually have to get proof that they're footballers to enter the US as Iranian internationals because they're not allowed in on their passport.
That is a shame,
so
isn't it? Because
Trump has a lot of work to sort out before the World Cup.
That is true, because you've met the Iranian fans, haven't you, Theo? You've partied with them, and they're a passionate bunch of lads and lasses.
But there's other countries as well who are going to qualify who are on the banned list to the border control of the USA. And I wonder what they're going to do. Because I would love to see them in the stands.
Yes.
We want to see fans in the stands. Qatar was a good example of having a lot of the Middle Eastern nations see how they support. You know, Saudi are on the come up. So let's see how they deal with it.
Yes.
You know, they need to sort some things out there, Trump. And another thing is, Poch referenced in his interview, he was like, can we win the World Cup? He said yes. They just lost to Canada and they fell out the Nations League. I think they lost to Panama as well.
They lost to Panama, and I was watching that in a bar in Mexico. And that last-minute goal, all the Mexicans in the bar were standing up and cheering.
There you go. But Poch referenced Trump. He said, if Trump helps me, we can win the World Cup. What does he mean by that?
I think he's dreaming. The United States...
What can Trump do in a World Cup, in a political position?
I don't know, cheat?
How?
Bribe the refs?
No, but
that's a joke, by the way. Trump would never do that. No, look, the USA... The host nation normally does better than average in World Cups. I remember when the World Cup was held in, was it Japan, South and Korea? And, Japan and Korea did well in that World Cup. In
2018, Cheryshev.
Russia
even the birds
probably did better than what was expected. They got to the quarterfinals, didn't they? The USA can maybe get...
Artem Juba, who remembers how good he was?
Juba.
He made me proud to be half Russian.
I know. But no, the USA have got absolutely no chance in that tournament. They're just not good enough.
Really?
It's as simple as that.
Timothy Ware, the back post.
And all of my life, when I was a teenager, I remember talking to Americans who were saying, hey, we've got this wealthy country, we're brilliant at the sports, give us 30 years, 40 years.
Nice accent.
And we'll be... No, I kind of stopped halfway through. Give us 40 years and we'll win the World Cup. You've not come close.
We've got American family. Half our family's American, and they're always talking to us. They love Arsenal. I mean, every American seems to love Arsenal, Tottenham, by the way, which I understand why. But they have an obsession about soccer, and they want the sport to grow, but something keeps holding it back. Even with Pochettino.
Yeah.
Seems like they were better with Berhalter. I don't know what's going on.
Do you know, I'll tell you the weirdest thing there, and you have to guess why this is. So I got DM from a Saudi Arabian subscriber.
Yep.
And he's asking about the Wigan-Bolton derby, what's it called? And I told him it's called the Pie Pasty Derby. And he says, oh, well, my English teams are Wigan Athletic and Bolton Wanderers.
No.
Have a guess why. And I'll tell you.
Bolton for us, our vlogs. Wigan for the iconic Premier League years.
Think of a Middle Eastern footballer.
Ali Al-Habsi.
Ali Al-Habsi.
Yes.
So there's a guy walking around in Saudi Arabia who's got a Wigan shirt and a Bolton shirt.
It's amazing how Ali Al-Habsi carried the Middle Eastern audience back then, when in those Premier League eras, where he played at these random clubs. Well, Bolton's a massive club, but he played at these random clubs, and they just loved him out. He's from Oman.
Yes.
He played internationally.
I know,
But he set the scene for internationals from the Middle East playing in the Premier League.
Yes.
Iconic.
Yes.
The streets won't forget Ali Al-Habsi.
Yes.
And on that note, I think we'll end the weekly ramble.
Big
a very
shout out
episode.
to Ali Al-Habsi.
That is one of the biggest. Every week we'll end on a streets won't forget player, and this one is Ali Al-Habsi. So that's a nice way to end the pod. Thank you for watching. If you're on Spotify, hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back next week posting again.
I'm going to be on Spotify. I can't wait.
If you're watching on Thogden 2, subscribe. Stay tuned. Watch the main channel as well. Lots of content to come. Nice one. See you in a bit, guys. Bye.